That's us live.
Wowzers. Okay. Can you see who's there or anything? No, am I just speaking into
Not yet, no. I think it takes, it's like a 20-second delay, so
okay.
Fingers crossed.
No. My son's asking if he can watch on his iPad. No. You're getting it live.
We've got 11 viewers. There we go. So
okay.
Get started.
We give it just one more minute and see if anybody wants to join, and then we'll get started then.
Okay.
Okay. A minute becomes a very long time when you're waiting for a minute to pass, doesn't it? That's what's happened there.
I think Amy from Stirling's here.
Great.
She's put in the chat.
There she is. Okay, will we just make a start then? You're in true fashion, you're on mute, Laura. Okay, let's just make a start then. So thank you very much everyone for joining us this evening, and welcome to our Positive Destinations event from Cathkin High. Although we're not actually from Cathkin High right now, we're from various offices and homes around about the place. We hope that you'll find tonight informative and interesting and useful. We have some excellent speakers here to give you some presentations about what options are available for young people when they leave us at Cathkin, and we'll have a little bit of a question and answer session later also. Mrs. Laura Russell, who has bravely and expertly organised this whole thing this evening, will give her email address out later, and you will be able to email in any questions that you have, and we'll get back to you and answer you. We won't keep you for too long, and certainly it's not me you've come to listen to. So let me just introduce who will be speaking to you this evening. So we've got Mrs. Laura Russell, who is the Pastoral Care Principal Teacher for S6 and Leavers, and is also strategically responsible for Positive Destinations in Cathkin High. We also have, well, we don't have Graham McAuliffe from SDS, Skills Development Scotland. He was planning to do a presentation for you, but he can't get on. So the wonders of technology have not wound their way to Graham's house, unfortunately. That presentation will be available for you potentially on Google Classrooms at a later date, though, so you won't miss out there. We also have Kelly Hedge-Holmes, thanks Kelly, from the University of Glasgow, Caitlin Houston from the University of Strathclyde, and also Amy McDermott from the University of Stirling. And you'll hear from each of them today. Obviously, I am one of the deputy head teachers at Cathkin High, and it's a real privilege to actually hear what is going on and wonderful things are going on in the school for our young people that leave. So, without any further ado, I'm going to hand you over to Mrs. Russell, and I will join you again at the end. Thanks.
Hi everyone, thank you very much for coming. I'm just going to just have me on the screen for just now, okay? So you'll still be here, everyone. But so I'm just going to do a short presentation on school and kind of what we offer within the school in terms of support. I am just going to share my screen, so if you just give me a wee second to figure out how to do that on this platform. So if I can just make this slightly bigger and hopefully this will be us. Okay, so basically what I'm going to run through is what we do in Cathkin to support our young people into a positive destination, and I'm mainly going to focus on university and college. Graham would have been focusing on jobs and apprenticeships, and I'm hopefully going to be able to show you a little bit of his PowerPoint if I can get the technology to work. So how do we help young people at Cathkin? So for S6 pupils this year, S6 pupils are kind of receiving a bespoke programme where they receive 2 periods of support per week, okay? We're going to be working on preparing personal statements, which we're doing right now for both university and college, CVs and application forms. We will spend time working on interview skills after the October break, which I'm sure you will agree will support them in whatever they choose to go on and do. For S5, for anyone who's applying for university from S5, there is a 1 period a week support which is currently running for S5 pupils. If your child is planning on applying to university at the end of S5 and feels like they need a little bit of support, please ask them to come and see me. Pupils who are identified as leaving at the end of S4 or 5 will be targeted to receive additional support with personal statements or job applications in January. And this will be from myself or with Graham McAuliffe to help them to make sure that we get them into that positive destination. So in terms of college, I'm just going to start there. So there's obviously a variety of different options that they can study at college. Obviously, we could start off by looking at either doing additional hires, advanced hire type qualifications. They could study a kind of vocational area, learning the skills and knowledge that they might need to pursue a specific career. Subjects might include beauty, musical theatre, travel and tourism, sport and health. It might also be something to do with plumbing, becoming an electrician, different qualifications like that. The third option would be to look at to study an NC or an NQ, which might then lead on to them studying an HNC or HND, and to study for an HNC or an HND, which could then progress to university. So I got asked a question, one of the questions I got asked was, what's the subject entry requirements to get into college? And it varies wildly between the different levels of courses. So to get into an NQ, you would be looking at sort of 3 national 5s with subject requirements. It could be starting at 3 national 5s, but it could go to as many as 5 national 5s. The HNC, which is a 1-year course, would be looking at 1 hire, which can then progress to an HND. The HND, which is a 2-year course, is 3 hires, and they will specify specific subjects that they want within these areas. HNC and HND courses can both progress to university. For some, it can mean second year entry or third year entry. Others might mean first year entry. That just very much dependent on the university they're applying to. For college, applications will involve writing a personal statement, and most college courses will require young people to attend interview, which is kind of why we really want to make sure that we're supporting our young people and preparing for that. For university, just need to emphasise, and I'm sure Amy will touch on this and what she's going to speak to you about, that university applications are extremely competitive. University applications are for pupils who will have a minimum of 3 Bs by the end of S6. Different universities will set higher entry requirements than others, so your more traditional universities will have the highest entry requirements, particularly in the first sitting, so St Andrews, Glasgow, Edinburgh, Aberdeen. You can put Strathclyde into that bracket as well because their entry requirements tend to be quite high. New universities will have a slightly lower entry requirement, so Dundee, Heriot-Watt in Edinburgh or Stirling, and then the former colleges will probably have the lower entry requirements, although some of them as well, even Glasgow Caledonian, are starting to have, slightly higher requirements depending on the course. So UWS, University of the Highlands and Islands, Edinburgh Napier, Queen Margaret, these are the Abertay, are the kind of universities with slightly lower entry requirements. For me, the most important thing is to get researching. If you're applying to university or college, the most important thing to do is research, and it can't happen too early. The sooner young people are aware of what their interests are, the better. University websites are really easy to navigate and contain a huge amount of information on course fees, what's required, what's expected. We would advise that young people attend open days. We have always given permission for them to attend to, but they are currently virtual, so you're able to do that at night time, you know, when you're in your house, and it's a really, really good way of finding out information about the courses. It's important that you ask questions either at open days or via email, and I'm sure the ladies who are here tonight will emphasise that. Study the entry requirements in detail. Some courses will only consider results from the first sitting, and then we'll probably give conditions on top of that, like medicine, dentistry and vet. There might also be big differences in entry requirements. For example, the accounting at Glasgow University would be 4 A's and a B, compared to UWS, which would be 3 B's and a C. Remember that each subject might be taught differently. Find out if the focus of their teaching suits what you want to learn, okay? And remember to look at other details, like, do you want to move away from home? How long would it take you to travel to Edinburgh, Napier or Stirling? And do you like the campus? Do you like where the union is? These are important things to think about because you'll be spending a lot of time there. So UCAS applications, obviously I'm given support in school with the application form and advice on the courses to apply for. So registration for UCAS has been completed by most of the current S6 who are applying. Remember that you have 5 course options and you need to use them wisely. So don't pick 4 subjects from the one university, spread them out and try and make sure that you get yourself an offer, and try to pick one specific area to apply for. If possible, we've had young people rejected for not having had a specific enough personal statement in the past, but please remember that that's not applicable for medicine. If you're applying for medicine, you're limited to how many you can apply for, so it's okay to apply elsewhere. Just a really quick rundown of the personal statement, which is very different for university and college. In university, it's a 4,000 character statement. It's not a list of what you've done, talked about what you've learned. UCAS can check if you're cheating. So there's lots and lots of things you need to think about, but we make sure our young people are really, really well prepared for that. We also have to write a reference, and I'll be writing all the references this year. Anyone in S5 will be their pupil support teacher. But one important factor is that we have to tell the truth. We have to make reference to things like time management, effort, contribution to the life of the school, as well as much more. And if we don't write a lot, then universities can absolutely read between the lines. Teachers are asked to predict grades for this exam diet, and these will then be given to UCAS. So the deadlines for applying to medicine, dentistry and vet are the 15th of October. For us in school, I would really like these to be finished by the end of October. I don't want it carrying on forever and ever and ever. And pupils are well underway with their personal statement. But please be aware that UCAS does have a charge for all pupils applying to university, but that they can speak to me if there are any issues. So offers, just a wee quick hint on this. If you're successful in your application, you will receive an unconditional or a conditional offer. And I think Amy will talk a wee bit more about this later. But a couple of things to think about, that they might have to go for an interview process to guarantee a place. And again, we're going to offer you a bit of support for that in school. Offers might include things like Top Up, which Kelly from Glasgow runs, so she'll be able to tell you a wee bit about that, or summer school. And it's really important to have a backup plan. If you only have a conditional offer, don't leave yourself with nothing, okay? So think about what that might be, whether it's a college application, whether it's making sure that you've got something else in place. Very quickly, SAS funding. So the Student Awards Agency for Scotland, this is where you apply for fees to be paid. So the Scottish Government pay for young people to study at university in Scotland, which is fantastic. English learners have to pay for their own fees, and that can be up to £9,000 a year. You can also apply to SAS for student loans. I've got the wrong year here, but application for SAS can begin in May of next year for 2022 for 22 entries. Okay, universities also have talent scholarships. Glasgow email us about these every year, and so does Strathclyde, that many of our students can apply for. And this is, there is absolutely no harm in applying for these at all, because it could be up to £1,000 a year that a young person gets given just for going to university. So that is me. in terms of what I have to say. I'm just going to have a look and see if I can get onto Graham's information that he sent me, but I am not sure that I will be able to, because I don't know where I've saved it. No, I can't, sorry. I'm going to have a look for it, but maybe what I could do is if I could ask Amy if you would be able to do your little bit for us just now, Amy, and I'll have a wee look and see if I can find Graham's. Thank you very much for coming, Amy.
My pleasure, of course, absolutely happy to. I'm looking on two different screens. It's beautiful to have two screens, but apologies if I'm not looking at you. I'm just going to share my screen just now. Let me see. And I am hoping that you can all see that okay. It doesn't look like it is on my, yeah, there we go. That looks pretty good. Wonderful. All right. If for some reason you can't see my screen, or if my sound drops out at any point, just please do let me know. But my name's Amy. I work at the University of Stirling. I'm one of the student recruitment managers there. And my job is to give information, advice and guidance to anybody who is thinking about applying to study with us at Stirling. But what I'm going to give you a bit of information about today is also hopefully relevant if you're applying to other institutions. But as Mrs. Russell really helpfully kind of set out to you, it's really important that you get the information about the specific universities that you are applying for, as we are all very unique and quite different from entry requirements to course content. So do make sure that the information that I'm giving you today, if it is not about Stirling, that you double check. And it's great that we've got Glasgow and Strathclyde here as well, so they can answer right on the night. So in terms of information about Stirling itself then, so we are based on an amazing 330-acre campus, and we have 14,000 students on our campus, makes us a middle-sized university. We have a range of different students in our undergraduate population. So 70% of students will come straight from school. But if you are someone who's thinking about going to college before you come to university, then there is a proportion of students who come through different routes as well. So lots of different options. We have over 120 different nationalities represented on our campus. So very much a global university as well. We're delighted to be top 30 in the UK of the UK's best universities in the Guardian University Guide 2021. And we're also Sports University of the Year 2020 and the Good University Guide from the Times and the Sunday Times. Top 20 in the UK for student satisfaction from the National Student Survey 2020. And I'm sure my colleagues at Strathclyde and Glasgow would agree that the NSS is a brilliant way to find out more about what students have said about our degree programmes and universities. Because this league table, in essence, was created by students themselves, as it's based on feedback from final year students. And finally, more than 95% of our undergraduates were in employment or further study 15 months after graduation. So at the University of Stirling, we've got over 220 different courses of kind of single and joint honour degree options. These are split across 5 different academic faculties. So we have Arts and Humanities, Health Sciences and Sport, Natural Sciences, Social Sciences, and our Stirling Management School. And you can see the number of different courses that we offer there. Now, what you might notice is that we don't offer every single subject, and we're not unique at Stirling with that. Every university will have specific specialism, so they'll have specific degrees that they offer. Some universities may offer more or less than others, but they're all unique on the basis of our expertise, our research and learning and teaching excellence. So it's really important that you're thinking about which university that you want to study at, which course you want to study, and to make sure that it's actually offered by that university you're interested in. So in terms of entry requirements then, Mrs. Russell very, really importantly shared with you the importance of entry requirements. This is the very first part of the research that you have to do, because it's really the most critical. You need to work out if you're going to have all of the qualifications that you need to be able to get onto the place. Now, at Stirling, we accept a range of different qualifications: Highers, Advanced Highers, Apprenticeship. So a foundation apprenticeship is equivalent to a B at Higher for us at Stirling. And we also accept students with HNCs, HNDs as well, either into first year, or we have a number of advanced entry routes as well. It's really important that you're not looking just into the sort of overall entry requirements, so 2As, 2Bs, for example, by the end of S6, but you're also looking into the essential subjects that might be required. So for our education, nursing and social work degrees, we have a baseline requirement for maths and English. And again, they differ from subject to subject. So for education, we look for a B at National 5 Maths or applications of maths, and a B at higher English. Whereas for nursing, for example, we look for National 5 English and maths. For our science-based subjects, so biology, environmental geography, mathematics, we may have specific science-based subject requirements, so one of biology, chemistry, physics and maths. And it's important you're thinking about these essential subjects in a range of different subject areas. So we're really well known for sport here at Stirling, and our sport and exercise science degree requires students to have one of the sciences at B in order to meet the entry requirements. So it's always worthwhile just double checking. Another really important aspect in your application is to show the work experience that you have. Now, where you would kind of include any relevant work experience is within your personal statement. Now, remember, it's about quality, not quantity. So it's about the skills and experience that you've gained. We're not necessarily looking for you to have done 6 months worth of work experience. It could be split over a couple of days or a week, but it's about what you have gained. Now, we do understand that it is perhaps more difficult, or has been more difficult, obviously with the pandemic, to get in-person work experience. And for the most part, virtual work experience would be suitable. However, for our high demand subjects where it's very competitive, something like primary education, for example, there may be other students who do have that in-person work experience. So do be trying your best to try and get in-person work experience if it's required for specific subjects. And if you're not sure if that applies to you, get in touch with us. Our student recruitment teams at different institutions will be more than happy to help clarify that for you. So in terms of a little bit of information about applying to UCAS then, your school will provide you with lots of this information. Some of it has already been highlighted this evening. So you get a maximum of 5 different course choices that you can do as part of your application. There are some exceptions. You can only apply to Oxford or Cambridge, and you only get 4 choices if you're applying to medicine, veterinary science or dentistry, as your 5th choice is a backup choice. There's a fee associated with UCAS, so £22 for a single choice or £26.50 for more than one choice. And as I said, it must be paid before you've submitted your application. Mrs. Russell has already, been really helpful and clearly set out the different deadlines. So for most applications, it will be the 26th of January 2022 for those looking to start university in September 2022, and that's at 6 p.m. So the kind of general UCAS deadline has changed this year, so it'll be the last Wednesday in January at 6 p.m. As was mentioned, it will be the 15th of October, apologies, that should say 2021, for applications to medicine, dentistry in Oxford or Cambridge. And if you are applying to a conservatoire, again, that could be earlier, so do check on the UCAS website. Although these are the set UCAS deadlines, as your school must provide you with a reference, as we've already spoken about, it's really important that you're making sure you're meeting your school's deadline. They need to know what you're applying for and what you said in your personal statement in order to make sure that they can give you a really relevant and impactful reference. There is an institutional deadline, so that is basically, apologies about my slides here. So this hasn't been confirmed yet, unfortunately, for 2022. However, that was May 2021 for last year. So it's likely that it will be a similar time. So the institutional deadline is when we as universities have to get back to you with a decision on your offer. However, please be aware that you can start receiving decisions back from universities as soon as you've submitted your application. And just because your pal, who maybe even has applied for the exact same course at the exact same university, has heard back, if you haven't heard back, it's not necessarily bad news. It's just no news yet. So just be aware not to stress if you haven't heard back. It can be right the way up until that institutional deadline. So there are 6 main sections of a UCAS application. You have your personal details, including contact and residency details. You have your course application, so your choices. You have your education, both past and present. And as was mentioned, we will get predicted grades that will be provided by your school. And it's also really important that you're including all of the correct information for the past qualifications that you've had, or that you've completed, sorry. So I would recommend getting your most recent SQA certificate or logging onto your SQA portal to have that information to hand. There's a section for employment, so that is paid employment only, and that can be a great way to tell us about any part-time jobs that you've got. However, if you are, basically doing a part-time job that has got skills or experiences that are relevant to the course that you're applying for, please do also include that in your personal statement, as your personal statement and your educational qualifications are the two things that are going to make a huge difference to your application. This is specific to Stirling. This may differ from other institutions, but certainly for Stirling, including the information about your paid employment in your personal statement if it is relevant. Now, your personal statement, obviously a core part of your UCAS application, and something that you want to make sure that you're giving yourself plenty of time to complete. And there are a number of different webinars run by either UCAS, by your school, or by institutions that you can sign up for to get some more information about your personal statement. But please do also feel free to ask us about the type of skills and experience that we would be looking for you to kind of communicate in your personal statement. There's a UCAS event running tomorrow, and virtual open days are a great way to find out more information. So post-application, there are 4 possible outcomes. You may get what's called an unconditional offer. So this means that you have a guaranteed place and you have already met all of the conditions that would be required. So you've met the entry requirements and you've showcased all of the information that we would need. You may receive what's called a conditional offer. Now, this is still a guaranteed place. However, it's on the condition that you meet what we set out in your conditional offer. So it could be to achieve a B in a specific hire. It could be to achieve another A in a particular area. That will be detailed within your conditional offer. You may be invited to a second stage of the application process. So either an interview, maybe written work, there could be another aspect to that application. And again, that will all be detailed from the university that's giving you that second stage outcome. And unfortunately, in some instances, we may be unable to make you an offer. Once you've heard back from all of your choices, don't make any decisions until you've heard back from everyone. You must select one firm choice. So that is your first choice. If everything goes great with your exams coming up or with your qualifications, that is the #1 university you want to go to. And then also an insurance choice. So this is kind of a backup choice. It's still a university that you want to go to and a course that you're excited about, but it's maybe one that is maybe a conditional offer that's going to be easier for you to achieve, or an unconditional offer if you get one. Because what you want for your insurance choice is a really kind of confident backup, so that you know if it maybe doesn't go to plan with your firm choice, you've got something secure there. And then you'll decline all of the rest of your other offers. On results day, your UCAS track will be updated, and then you're getting ready to start university. And there's lots of support on offer from clearing and exam helpline teams at all universities. So what are we looking for? Basically, we want to see what experience you have. Now, it might be work experience, but it could also be volunteering, could be different school activities that you've been involved in. We want to see that you have got lots of great things that you would be bringing, and it also shows your suitability to the course you're applying for. We want to know what skills these different experiences have given you. Might be knowledge of a particular career or insight into the subject area you're applying for. Or it could be more transferable skills, things like communication or teamwork. And you really want to be honing in on the skills that are relevant to the subject you're applying for. So, people skills for nursing or social work as an example. And then finally, how does this experience and or these skills relate to the course that you're applying for? So it might be that you're clearly exemplifying that, or maybe this process will help you to whittle down exactly which experiences and skills you want to include as part of your application. In order to be able to do this, you need to have done your research about the courses, going to open days and you visiting our websites, and asking questions is a great way to do this, as has already been mentioned. Overall, in your application, you should tell us why you are the best applicant for the place. And not only should you tell us, you need to give us evidence of why that's the case. So in terms of interviews and work experience requirements in a little bit more depth then. So the University of Stirling has a second stage application for our nursing degrees, our paramedic science degrees, our PE teaching degrees, and our social work degree. Our education degrees do not have an interview as part of the application. However, many other institutions will interview for those courses. For nursing and paramedic science, we've been delivering interviews as video submissions over the course of the pandemic. The plans for 2022 entry have not yet been confirmed. However, all of this information will be communicated with you in advance in good time. And if you do have any questions, you're welcome to get in touch. However, unfortunately, because we're constantly reviewing government guidelines, we haven't made a firm decision on that just yet. For our education degrees, as I mentioned, where possible, it is best for you to get classroom experience in a school setting for the age group that you're applying for. Now, this can be virtual, but what you want to be showcasing is an understanding of the curriculum or of lesson planning and the curriculum for excellence. That is really welcomed as part of your application. And as I said, although our admissions teams are aware that the restrictions of COVID have had an impact on work experience, and we are kind of taking that into consideration, please don't just assume that, oh, well, sorry, I couldn't get work experience because of COVID. That's not, it might really kind of detriment your application because other applicants may already have had this experience. So do try your very best to gain it. You do still have time now to get some work experience before you're submitting your final application personal statement. Oh, apologies, we've already had this slide here. So moving on then, I'm going to talk specifically about accommodation at Stirling. This will be very similar to other institutions, but again, do ask the questions of the specific institutions you are hoping to apply for. So we have a wide range of accommodation options available. And obviously with the pandemic, things are slightly different. You will be asked to sign up to the community code, which highlights some of the responsibilities that you have around COVID. So it might be kind of social distancing where required, isolating when you need to, or if you need to. And also we have kind of specific kind of agreements in place as part of our accommodation contract, whereby we can pause your sort of payment, your rent payments, if you're not living in accommodation, and then you will basically just kind of then pay for when you are living there. Again, this is constantly moving and changing, so making sure that you've got a good understanding about what would happen in the event of a lockdown. Touch wood, that won't happen again, but that will be all kind of detailed to you within your accommodation contract. So at Stirling, we have 19 different properties and they are at a variety of different price ranges. So we have some sort of non-ensuite options, or standard rooms. So you can see an example of John Fortey's Court there. And this is one with shared bathroom facilities. And then we have an example of Juniper Court here, which does have an ensuite. The good thing to remember is that your kind of budget is really important to be considering when you're making your accommodation applications. Don't just apply for all of the most expensive and fanciest accommodation options if you're going to be worried about how to fund that. The rental periods at Stirling run from when you start the semester, so in September, right the way through until you finish your semester, your spring semester in June. So it's really good because it kind of covers you for that time. You can also leave your stuff over the Christmas break, but then you will finish up for the summer term. However, if there is anyone who requires summer accommodation, if you're a care experienced person, a carer, or estranged from your family, we do have summer accommodation available. So in terms of the application process for accommodation, you must apply for your course and make Stirling your firm choice first. And then you want to find out more about your about the allocations policy and about the different deadlines that are required. You apply for accommodation when the portal opens, and that will be after March this year. And all accommodation offers will go out in August. So don't worry if you don't get your offer until after the accommodation applications have been open. You do want to make sure that you're applying as early as possible, but we wait until all of offers have been kind of sorted out. We've worked out who will be coming to study with us, and that's when you will get information about your accommodation option. We do have an accommodation guaranteed at Stirling as long as you have an accepted offer, you live more than 20 miles away from the university, and you apply by the deadline. If you want any more information about accommodation, you're welcome to get in touch with the team by emailing accommodation@stir.ac.uk, and they will also be available to chat to at our virtual open day in October. So getting in touch with key contacts is a really key way to find out more information. And please do feel free to get in touch with universities. We are here to help you. And it's really good that you're getting all of the most current and up-to-date information. So kind of some key areas that you maybe want to reach out to. So student recruitment teams are for any questions at all. If we don't know the answer, we can put you in touch with the person who does, or we can ask the person. However, we generally have a pretty good overview of everything to do with our universities. At Stirling, you can get in touch by emailing recruitment@stir.ac.uk or calling us on the telephone number 01786 467046. For any specific questions about entry requirements or specifics of your application, it's best to get in touch with admissions teams. So at Stirling, the email address is admissions@stir.ac.uk. This might be about asking if you might be entitled to a contextual offer, or perhaps you have applied for paramedic science, for example, and you've got a question about the second stage. And then if you want to get more information about the course itself, there will be course contact details on our website. And that's basically for specific subject questions. And if you go onto our website, go into the course search, course details and contact, you'll be able to get that there. And I'll show you a bit more of how to do that just now. So this is a screen grab of our website. You can see in the top left-hand corner there, it's stir.ac.uk. And you can see that you can either type into the search bar for the course finder, or in the top right-hand corner, the site search. So if you're looking for a course, you want to type in that course finder, the kind of title of the degree you're interested in. So if we take primary education, for example, if you type in primary, hit search, you want to be selecting undergraduate courses. So where it says postgraduate and CPD there, you want to cross those off or untick them. And then you'll get a list of the different courses that are available. On the website, you'll be able to see different tabs. So there's an overview, entry requirements, course details, fees and funding, and after you graduate. And if you click on the course details and scroll down, you'll see the contact details there for the relevant course director. Another thing I would want to know or want for you to be aware of is under that course details tab is where you can find out more about the individual modules that we offer as part of our degrees. You can actually click on them and get an overview of the different modules that we offer. To be able to find out other kind of contact information, such as admissions, for example, you're going to the site search, typing in there, and then you're typing in the name that you're looking for, so admissions, for example. Then you can see you can click on contact us, and that is where the information will come up there. So you've got the recruitment email address, the admissions email address there. So just to finish up then, just want to make you aware that we do have a number of support for students who are from widening participation backgrounds, and we work in partnership with a number of different organisations, including the Carers Trust Scotland, Standalone and Who Cares Scotland, and also with the SHEP agencies, LEAPS, Focus West, Aspire North and Liftoff as well. You may be eligible for a contextual offer, and more information about that is available on our website. For 2022 entry, we are considering those who are from a priority postcode area, who are care experienced, who are estranged, or who are student carers for contextual offers. However, general kind of pre-application support is available for students from all WP backgrounds. So to finish up then, just to give you a bit of information about our open day at Stirling, as Mrs. Russell mentioned, they are an incredibly helpful way to be able to get all of the information that you would need, alongside things like UCAS events, so the UCAS event that's running tomorrow. So you'll get the chance to chat with our staff, our students, and also watch presentations on the different subjects that you're interested in. You can also get the chance to take a virtual tour of our campus, and we also are running socially distanced campus tours at Stirling. So once you've attended the open day, or before the open day if you like, you can book into one of our campus tours led by our student ambassadors. Now, we just had our most recent open day in September, just a couple of weeks ago, September 18th, and our next one is on Saturday, the 23rd of October, and you can sign up on our website. Another final thing to just touch on that might be of interest to you is we are running academic webinars, so academic taster sessions, and these can be a fantastic way to get an insight into the subject that you're interested in, and also get an idea of what a first year lecture will be like, which provides a great kind of bridge between hires and advanced hires and university content. You can see there all of the different subjects that we have on offer, and these will be running from 4 till 5 p.m. on different dates in October. Again, on our website, you'll be able to sign up. So I hope that that was useful for you. Please do feel free to get in touch if you have any questions. The email address is recruitment@stir.ac.uk, and you can sign up for our open days online. Thank you so much, and I will just stop sharing my screen now and pass back to Mrs. Russell.
Thank you, Amy. Do you know, we were laughing the other week because one of our former members of staff has a statement on your website outlining their experiences of studying teacher training at Stirling University. So yeah, so we were laughing when we found it. But yeah, so it's nice that you do.
Poster girl or boy.
Poster boy. So thank you very much. I'm just going to quickly just chat very briefly about what Graham said, and then I'm going to speak to Kelly and Caitlin just to ask some questions. Graham has shared just a wee bit of information. It was mainly about graduate apprenticeships and modern apprenticeships, and obviously we're really keen for young people to consider graduate apprenticeships as an alternative to going to university, because you do go to university but while you're being paid on a job. But I think what the best thing for me to do is to just share these this presentation with parents via parent mail, and I will do that tomorrow when we're back in school. But graduate apprenticeships are certainly an excellent alternative. We had 3 boys this year who have gone to do a quantity surveying apprenticeship with a local company. So they are studying quantity surveying at Glasgow Caledonian whilst earning money as well at the same time. And I think it's a fantastic opportunity if you know these are available in the area that they want to apply to. So it's definitely worthwhile. And Graham will be happy to speak to parents about, you know, if anyone has a question about that. So if I can just ask if Caitlin and Kelly, if you guys are able to come back in. Hi, Kelly, thank you. Thanks, Caitlin. So just got a few questions. I'm just going to start. The first one was just about kind of what's your advice for pupils applying directly to university from the end of S5? So they haven't sat their hires yet. Kelly, could you maybe just start with that one? What would your advice be generally for pupils applying from S5?
Basically, if you're going into one of the medical professions, so medicine, dentistry or vet medicine, they would really discourage applicants from S5. Also law. Your general subjects, so going into social sciences, going into the arts, humanities, we do welcome applications from S5, but do your research first. Make sure you have enough hires to get in. Do you have the required subjects you need? We do tend to find at the moment we are getting a lot of applications whereby, you know, the entrance requirements are asking for a particular hire, maybe in chemistry or biology, and the young person isn't studying that. They send in their application, and because they're not meeting the minimum requirements, they will unfortunately be unsuccessful. So the key thing I would recommend, particularly if you're in S5, is do you really have to leave at S5? Could you stay on and do further hires? If you're not comfortable in school, maybe go on to college. But speak to admissions officers, speak to recruitment officers such as Amy, and find out more. I think it's crucial that you have to make an informed choice and do your research.
Caitlin, is there anything you would like to add to that? Because I just like from experience, some of our young people have maybe struggled to get into the business school at Strathclyde or certain engineering courses applying from the end of S5. So I don't know if you've got anything else that you'd like to add to that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's quite a tricky one. And the one thing that I think I would encourage S5 leavers to bear in mind is that in terms of the competition for places, the competition is so high for Scottish students. It's a brilliant thing that you obviously have access to SAS funding, but the other end of that is that unfortunately the competition is higher. And the places that you're competing for are against S6 applicants who have already got a set of hires there. And if an admissions officer is looking at your application and you're currently doing your hires, that's not as easy for them to make a decision as it is for if they're looking at an S6 leaver who has 3 A's and 2 B's, for example. They're kind of hedging their bets on who would be most appropriate for the course. So it's worth bearing that in mind, that you are competing against for places that are already kind of, in a way, a surer bet for admissions officers. But that's not to say that we do discourage S5 applicants, but I would certainly echo what Kelly has said in that although you're S6, you might be absolutely desperate to leave school, and I can totally appreciate that. School isn't for absolutely everybody, but S6 is an opportunity to do lots of different things. So even if you get your academic qualifications in the bag, you've totally nailed it and you're ready to leave, think about the different things that you can do with your S6. So are you going to be able to volunteer, help in other classes, for example, and just generally taking even a bit of a chill year in some cases is really, really worthwhile, staying engaged with the school. But certainly if you are applying from S5, I would say get in touch with your school teachers first and foremost. Work out what's going to be required for you academically. So what are you going to need? Speak to admissions officers in the different universities and try and think about how you can make yourself stand out against those S6 applicants that you're going up against for your places. So your personal statement, etc.
And that's really helpful, actually, because I'd had an email while Amy was speaking about the fact that we at Cathkin don't offer Duke of Edinburgh, and asked about Saltire, and we've got a programme for our S6 this year, a leadership programme. We're trying to encourage our S6 to be involved in different committees around the school and doing different, volunteering work experience, that kind of a thing. And I have just registered actually for Saltire Award to become, so that we can help our young people become registered and get an award to recognise all the work that they're doing in S6, which I think is fantastic. So that totally echoes what we're trying to do as a school to try and support them, into their next stage. So I'll just go to what my next question was. It's just about entry requirements. Kelly, I know you certainly mentioned this to me at the start of the call, but is there going to be any changes this year in terms of entry requirements, and if you get any advice just on looking at that?
Basically, I think at the moment the key thing is to keep up to date with the website and check that there have been no changes. Universities like to have their admissions requirements set out before the academic term, but I am aware with the pandemic they're looking at things slightly differently each year, and I would strongly recommend that you check the website. Whatever offers are made, they're based on what the website says, so make sure that you have the most up-to-date information. I myself, I don't work for admissions, so I never know exactly what they're planning, but I would always err on the side of caution and just be safe and constantly check, because there is a chance that the entrance requirements can change. At the University of Glasgow, we may be adjusting our contextual offers for those that live in certain postcodes, but that is not confirmed as yet.
And Caitlin, is it just the same situation in Strathclyde then? Same advice?
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, we're not planning, as far as I'm aware anyway, we won't be dropping our entry requirements as per the website, for example, as Kelly's saying, but when it comes to making those decisions, we will take into account, obviously, all of the conditions that applicants are experiencing at the moment when they are making their UCAS applications. If there is any exceptional circumstances, personally, for an applicant, I would really encourage you to make sure that Mrs. Russell puts that in your reference. So if there's something that has particularly happened to you and it has really disrupted your chances of meeting those entry requirements, make sure that Mrs. Russell can put that in the reference just so that university is aware of it. We can be a little bit more flexible, but there are certain things that I would say will have to stay as a firm. So if, for example, the course specifically says we need higher English at a B, then chances are we won't be able to budge to make that at a C, if that makes sense. But we will, where possible, be as flexible as we possibly can, even though we're not dropping our entry requirements at all.
That makes perfect sense. Caitlin, what are your top tips for young people going through the UCAS process this year? Have you got any? Have you?
I could talk all day about this, if I'm honest. I think when you've kind of worked in the sector that we work in for a while, and you read so many personal statements and you've spoken to so many applicants, so many kind of hints and tips do tend to come up. But I think my top one would be particularly around the personal statement. And that is really, and I think you touched on this, Mrs. Russell, in your talk, was get ahead of the game as early as you possibly can. So start your personal statement early. You don't have to have it fully fledged out and ready and good to go by next week, but start thinking about these things and start thinking about what you're going to put in it. Make sure that you please spell check your personal statement. We have read so many applications for psychology where the applicant misspells psychology in their personal statement. So reread it again and again, ask your parents, ask your friends, ask your teachers to reread it as well. And my other top tip would be around deadlines. So although you've got the January deadline that Amy touched on in her presentation, that's not necessarily the one that you're going for. So you will be looking to your teachers and listen to whatever they're asking you for your deadline, because there's lots of other stuff that has to happen in terms of them putting in your predicted grades and your reference and giving your application a final check. So make sure you know when your deadlines are, make sure that you have read and reread your personal statement to death. Those would be, I think, my 2 top tips.
Yeah, I would totally agree with that. Although I work with them on their personal statements, I always ask them to get another member of staff to read it, because I'm reading these things so often that sometimes they start to blur into one. So no, absolutely, totally agree with that. Good. Kelly, just in terms of obviously your widening participation background, what would you advise for young people who maybe haven't been able to get work experience, you know, like within, so we've got young people this year applying for medicine who maybe haven't been able to get into hospital or dentist, or if they're applying for teaching and they haven't got into a primary school, we've made sure that they've got experience within our school. But have you got any advice for these candidates?
That is absolutely perfect. The universities are fully aware that it's been such a hard 18 months and getting work experience is nigh on impossible. So basically, they are aware of this and check websites. They've got a lot of good resources that you can utilize to gain an understanding about that particular profession. And you can emphasize that in your personal statement. You can show that you have done that additional research. You can admit, yes, I haven't been out into a hospital directly. However, I have had a consultation with somebody and had a chat with somebody about a particular field. We fully understand that it is really, really difficult. So please do check on university websites, because they have put up a lot of information about how to express your enthusiasm for a particular course and to show that you have been committed in finding out about that particular profession. You may not have actually been able to get into that kind of setting or environment, but you are showing dedication that that is where your dream is, where you want to go.
Yeah, and just for Strathclyde, Caitlin, just in terms of teaching, you don't have an interview, is that correct? But it will be very much based on personal statement, am I correct in that?
So some courses we might interview for. So we interview for social work and prosthetics and orthotics, because those are particularly a little bit more vocational and the nature of the degree is dealing with people and things. I think going forward, we might be switching to do interviews for our pharmacy programmes, but the vast majority of our degrees will not be interviews. But we do put quite a lot of emphasis, as you say, on the personal statement. And I think I would, again, totally agree with Kelly when she says think outside of the box, and in particular think about how you can expose yourself to that industry without actually physically exposing yourself to the industry. So things like setting up a phone call with people who are working in the area, ask them what their biggest challenge is in their workplace, ask them what they love about their workplace, what's your favourite thing about your job, and then that gives you a little bit of something to bounce off in your personal statement, and you can work with that while you're writing it.
That's a great bit of advice, thank you. Kelly, would you mind just doing a quick outline of the sort of WP programmes, the widening participation programmes, just how young people would qualify to be a part of them, just quickly, if that would be okay?
Yeah, no problem at all. So at the University of Glasgow, we run a suite of widening participation programmes that help young people go on to university, whether that be the University of Glasgow or the University of Strathclyde or even the University of Stirling. And basically, to take part in those programmes, you have to be a UCAS candidate, so in either S5 or S6. But more recently, we have specific targeting criteria of who can participate in those programmes. So we have the REACH programme, which is designed for those going on to medicine, dentistry, vet medicine and law. And at Glasgow, we have the top-up programme, which is aimed at pupils who are wanting to go on to the general kind of university subject areas, arts, humanities, science, that kind of thing. And by taking part in one of these programs, you could be eligible for an adjusted offer of entry. So it's part of the whole contextualized admissions policy that the university has and what many universities have. However, to be eligible for that, you have to fit into one of the criteria that have been set out. That could be based on the postcode that you live in, whether you are an asylum seeker or a refugee, if you have care experience, if you're estranged from your family, or even if you've had extenuating circumstances within your academic, your school career. That could be for a number of things, and please do contact us if you believe that you've kind of fall into that category, and we can guide you within that. But there are the criteria there for a specific reason, and you will find these on our website.
Thanks, Kelly. And just Strathclyde, I'm just checking, you also have a programme that Jan runs, but I can't remember what it's called right now, which is terrible. Is that right, Caitlin? You've got
yes, sorry, Kelly's nodding. That might be your area a little bit more than mine, sorry.
Yeah, it's part of the Focus West programme. So all of the kind of HEIs take an element. So Jan and the team at Strathclyde, they do an S4 programme, which is giving young people experience of university. We deal at Glasgow with the S5 and S6s, and UWS, they are part of that as well, and Caledonian University, and they deal with the kind of Roots Fall element. So if a young person is going on to college, they would take part in one of those programs. There are lots of different caveats, lots of different things, and Mrs. Russell will have all the details for that if you need further assistance.
You need more information. I know. I think there is a sort of like summer school type programme at Strathclyde that I can't quite remember the name of, which kind of is similar to Top Up, but
Amanda runs that.
Yeah, I've lost track of it.
I think we do just call it a summer school for what it's worth. I think it is just a summer school.
Summer school. So yeah, there are different opportunities. And there's also the Sutton Trust as well, which is running at Glasgow as well, which is great. So I just was saying there, I was asking if any young people are not eligible for WP programmes, so they can't qualify for Top Up or Reach, can you suggest any other experiences that they might want to prepare them? Is there anything that you would suggest that might be quite a good thing for them to be involved in?
I think it would be wise for the young people to do the research and kind of find out what it is that they want to do and how could they kind of further their career, whether that be trying to get some work experience, or if they are looking to expand their horizons, are they going to be taking a gap year maybe and going to do some kind of volunteer work, charity work? That would be kind of my recommendation, but also speaking to people within a higher education setting and ask them, I really want to get into this profession. How would you advise me to do that? What would be the best option? They could recommend you actually want to be looking at a university that has accreditation from a professional body. Okay, well, that then rules out some universities. It actually opens the doors to others. So it really is key that whatever year group you are in, you start doing the research early on to find out what you need to do and what doors, as Caitlin said, what can open, options to you.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Caitlin, can I just ask, see in terms of like your personal statements, how much of that are you looking to be an academic focus? I know that St Andrews look for about 80% academic. What about Strathclyde? What's the kind of focus there?
Yeah, that's another tricky question, to be honest. At Strathclyde, we don't have a particular set percentage that we would say has to be academic. What we look for in general in a personal statement is that the applicant has a clear interest in the subject area. I quite like to see personal statements that start with a nice overview of the subject area. So rather than launching into, I had work experience in my local primary school, give a little bit of an overview about the area that you're applying for, why it interests you, what you love about it, what you're keen to do after your degree, if you know what that is yet. And then we look to see how a particular applicant has picked up skills that will then help them at university as well. Yeah. So we look for a really nice balance overall of, we can read a personal statement, we know that you know what you're applying for, you know what you're in for as a student, you have done the right prep for it, and you have got a relevant range of skills that will help you when you come to university. So I know that doesn't help too much if you are applying for universities that say we need X amount of this and X amount of that. For Strathclyde, certainly we would just look for a bit of a nice balance overall and a little bit of everything. We're not as fixed on that. I think what I would say off the back of that, though, is if you know for certain that you want to go to St Andrews and that is the university for you, and they're telling you that they want to see that in their personal statement, then that is how you should write your personal statement. So don't try and make it apply to lots of different universities if you know in your own self that that's the one that you want to be considered for most of all. So listen to the university that you're interested in.
That you really want to go to. Okay, no, that's perfect. Thank you. Kelly, have you got any advice just on preparing for interviews? For maybe if young people do have interviews for medicine or for dentistry or for teaching, is there any bits of advice that you would give them for preparing?
Again, just do research, particularly for the professions. You want to be knowledgeable on any current issues within that profession. In regards to if it's veterinary related, is there a kind of parasite that is kind of lurking about that is topical? You know, you may be asked about that. But the key thing I would say is make sure you know what you've written in your personal statement, because they will base that on in your interview. They will take questions from that. They will look at it and go, you mentioned you did X. Please, can you expand on that? So again, it's key. One thing I always say when I do UCAS talks is make sure you tell the truth in your personal statement. Don't try and be over elaborate, because if you are invited for an interview, it could catch you out because they will ask. But you want to be confident in yourself and in your ability. And if you don't understand something, tell the interviewer, I'm sorry, could you repeat that? Could you rephrase that? Most interviews, I think, this year will predominantly be, again, online. But it's up to individual institutions. We tend to do our interviews in kind of December, January time. I don't know what the circumstances will be like at that point. But just, you know, make sure you do your research about that profession, and you want to show why you should be considered for that profession. You want to really blow your own trumpet as well. That would be the key bits of advice I would give.
Yeah, no, that's great. Caitlin, can I ask you a question about hires or advanced hires? What's kind of the viewpoint on that from Strathclyde? We quite often encourage our young people to go and sit more hires rather than necessarily sit in 3 advanced hires unless they're going for specific areas. What's your view on that one?
Yeah, I would totally agree. I think your hires are great for giving you a solid basis of what you're going to go on and do at university. If it's relevant, it's a good idea to push yourself with the advanced hire. So for areas like engineering, we like to see advanced hire maths and physics, but there will be lots of courses that don't require an advanced hire. So areas like business, for example, we don't say you have to do your advanced hire business. It's just a good idea to continue on studying other social subjects. So you might want to do other subjects that are a bit more essay based. I would say don't overload yourself with advanced hires. Only do them if they are really relevant and if they're going to bring something to your application. I don't think an advanced hire should be something that you take just for the sake of it, to say that you did it. I would say take it because it's relevant to what you're going to do. You're willing to put the work in because it is a significant amount of work, as well as if you are continuing on with hires alongside your advanced hires as well. So it very much depends. And again, I think I would just encourage you to ask admissions teams if they're relevant and ask how they're viewed as well. At Strathclyde, we double count them. So if you get an A at hire and then you get a B at advanced hire, we see that as an A and a B. So that doesn't rule out your higher grade, if that makes sense. So we would view them as 2 separate grades, but different universities are completely different. So that's where it's really important to check and ask how they're viewed from an admissions and an entry requirements perspective as well.
How did Glasgow view them, Kelly? Sorry.
Basically, I fully agree and completely back up what Caitlin has mentioned, and I would always advocate take on more hires to offer you the breadth of subject areas. At Glasgow, we do look at advanced hires. We will double count them. However, one word of warning, if we are asking for 4 subjects and you get 3 hires in S, I'm generalizing here, you get 3 hires in S5 and you go on and do an advanced hire in one of those subjects, that only counts as 3 subjects. Because if you follow what I mean, so you say you do English, maths and biology and you do advanced higher biology, you actually need 4 subject areas. So always check websites, and I would always recommend, unless a university is asking for you must have advanced higher in X, I would always our students to get more hires, because it opens the pool up a bit more.
Brilliant. This is great information. Just a couple more things. Just best bit of advice you would say for a first or second year who are not really sure, maybe want to go to university, but what would kind of be your advice? Caitlin, I'll come to you first. What would you do? What would be
so I think, I mean, thinking back to even myself when I was at that age, I had no clue what I wanted to do. I actually decided what I wanted to do in 6th year of school when I was undergoing one advanced higher and a higher and some other bits and bobs as well. So do not panic if you don't know what you want to do. There is no pressure at all if you don't know what you want in your 1st and 2nd year. Keep your subjects really broad, keep trying new things, listen to your teachers and work out what they would recommend for you to do maybe with the subject. If you've got a particular flair for a subject area, then investigate that further. So what do you love about it? What would you potentially do with that at uni? So if, for example, you like physics at school, that opens a massive range of university courses that aren't just necessarily physics. So you can do lots and lots of different things with those skills that you like. So my top advice would be to not put yourself in a box and just keep on trying new things. Listen to your teachers and kind of go on from there, I think.
Is there anything you want to add to that, Kelly? That's great advice.
Keep it broad, have a good mix of subjects, because it may be that you don't really decide until your 5th or 6th year what exactly you want to do. So try and have a few sciences, try and have a language, try and have humanities-based subjects, arts-based subjects. Try and stick with your English and maths, because most universities, I don't know what they're going to predict in 5 years' time, but English and maths is key, and then build around those to keep your options open. If you don't like the sciences, then probably by the time you get into S6, you're still not going to like the sciences, so maybe pick other subjects. But S1, S2 is prime time for you to kind of investigate what you enjoy, and more importantly, what you don't enjoy, because there's no point studying a subject that you really are not passionate about and you don't get good enough grades.
Great. And can I just ask lastly, just if you could just tell us a wee bit, I don't know if you know when kind of open days or virtual events are happening at Strathclyde and Glasgow. Kelly, are you aware of any that are coming up at Glasgow?
There will be one in October. I don't know the dates, I'm afraid, but they are openly advertised on our website. We're tending to do a lot more virtual open days. And after we do our open days, we have our offer holder days. So for the senior pupils who do receive an offer from the university, we would always recommend that you come along so you can ask more questions and find more things out. Just check university websites.
Perfect, thank you. And anything, Caitlin, do you know any specific dates for Strathclyde or anything that you would recommend?
Yeah, so we had our first virtual open day was last Wednesday. So we've had one, and we've got another one on the 28th of October from 3 till 6 p.m. So that's my team that's organising that, and we'll have all of our faculties and all of our support services. Alongside that, our team also run virtual visits and workshops on UCAS and the personal statement, and choosing a course and a university. So the choosing course and the UCAS talk are very, very broad. It's very similar to what Amy covered in her presentation, but just in a little bit more depth, because we've got some more time. And you can find those just by typing in virtual visits onto our website. So that's where you'll see all the dates for those.
That's brilliant. Thank you so much, ladies. I really appreciate your time, and Amy as well. Thank you very much for coming along tonight. I'm just going to pass back to Angela to say thank you.
So that was so interesting. I've been dealing with UCAS applications and destinations for, well, I'm just going to say longer than I would care to admit, actually. And I always think the input from universities is so interesting and so important for us to hear as staff as well, you know, what your advice is, so that we know what to tell our young people. Thank you so much to Kelly and Caitlin and Amy for giving up your time tonight, coming along and talking to us with such depth and knowledge. It's so appreciated. And finally, also thank you to Mrs. Russell, the genius who organised this, and we all managed to get here.
Don't feel like it.
After 18 months, this doesn't actually seem to get any easier, but we've managed it again. So thank you very much. And for everyone who has joined us this evening to find out some more information, thank you very much for coming along also.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.